he was struggling to find a way out of that, not repeating that kind of pattern, and to find a way to heal these traumas. But he's not open to therapy and all these spiritual stuff, so it was hard for her to be able to help him. So she just prayed that he would somehow find the help, or the help would find him. So that's just, to me, it was so magical that she asked up there for help, and then his soul reaches out to me when I'm dreaming and asks me for help with that exact issue. And then I can give him that healing and ask his mother, and she can confirm that he was actually dealing with that topic. I didn't know that it was an issue, but she could confirm, yes, he actually needed help with that. And I asked for that help.
Welcome to Connecting with Coincidence. I'm Bernie Beitman. I'm a psychiatrist, and I study weird things, among other things. And among the many weird things that it's getting difficult for people to accept but are true, as best as I can tell. And remember, I'm a psychiatrist, so I can define what's crazy or not. At least society says that about me. And I do that with some regularity as I get more and more involved with the coincidence work. And one of the key parts of the coincidence work has led me to two questions. One, discarnate beings, that there are beings around us having influence on us, some of them, and they don't have bodies, but they're still influencing us. Now, a lot of people don't believe that, but I have been able to channel the father of a friend of mine who told me things about her, he's dead or not, about her that were true. And he and I still have an ongoing conversation. It's as our guest Julie Mariel will tell us, you think about these people out there and they show up right away. I mean, time isn't exactly the way we think about it here. So there are multiple entities floating around in the psychosphere doing various things with us and with themselves. And Julie runs into them in her healing work. And we're going to be talking about that with her. She's also raised the important question of, is psi a synchronicity? Like telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, even psychokinesis. Well, a coincidence or a synchronicity becomes not a coincidence or synchronicity when we know the cause of it. And Julie is becoming quite aware of her own ability to trigger what we call psi events as part of her own capacity as a human being, and yours too. You have the capacity of being able to do things that you don't think you can do. The telephone was invented to talk across distance, but telepathy can do the same thing. So another time we'll talk about how some of our technologies are really reflections of latent, hidden capacities within us. Julie Mariel is a Danish anthropologist that I was fortunate to run across because I saw one of her master's degrees, dissertations on ayahuasca and some weird stuff that happens. She and I were in a cacao ceremony in Denmark a couple of months ago. She was running it. She's a wonderful, wonderful leader of cacao ceremony, and together I could confirm for her that the energy in the room was spiraling up. She knew it somehow, and they were speaking in Danish, so I didn't know what they were talking about, but I told her I could see this spiral going up. Also in that meeting, I could see some butterflies between my heart and hers, which is one of the things that happened in the ayahuasca ceremony she had, that she reported in her anthropological dissertation. So there's a lot of weird stuff that is wonderfully clear from this very intelligent woman who is observing and reporting, and she's going to tell you stuff that some of you may kind of know, but you'll know it better. Julie arranges trips to various energy spots where participants can join the adventures of energy work and exploration of ancient history. And also, she runs into a couple of alien mummies every once in a while, too. she, she especially focuses on the Bosnian pyramids and Montségur in southern France. She appears on Danish national television and had been featured on several podcasts, including this one. She has a book about anthropological fieldwork on ayahuasca coming out in Danish by a publisher, Lemuel Books. So, Julie, welcome back to the show, and it's great to see you again.
Thanks so much for that colorful presentation.
You're welcome. Well, you're a colorful character. So, rather than beginning with a coincidence story, which you have, you do healing work, you do energy work, and part of your energy work ends up involving some discarnate beings, some entities floating around in the psychosphere that somehow come in to the work that you're doing. Mm-hmm. I wonder if you could tell us some about that.
Yeah, I work as part of what I'm doing as a modern shaman or shaman of the new era. So when I do these sessions, it's healing where I use my clairvoyancy on various senses. So it's a mix of clairsentience where I feel it and clairvoyancy where I see it with my third eye. And sometimes I also hear things, words and songs that are being said. So it's a mix of using just the extended version of our regular senses. So that's how I experience it. And also I have lots of friends who work with this, so I also learn from them and from their experiences, and we exchange. But when I do these,
for just a moment, I want to be clear with our audience that what you said, and repeat that these are extensions of our senses. Mm-hmm. Clairvoyance is kind of like a webcam in our minds where we can look at a distant place. Clairsentience is to be able to feel sensations, and sometimes they're feeling, and there's a variety of clairsentiences too, because we have a variety of ways of sensing. Sometimes it's smell, sometimes it's a feeling on the skin, sometimes it's other. And then there's clairaudience, where you can hear things at a distance that are happening, but not right around you. And that bridging space and time is what you just said. And I'm just saying it more slowly because you are able to do that, and it's still very, very new to a lot of people. So please continue.
And when you say at a distance with the hearing and the seeing, to me, it's not only at a physical distance, but just on a higher frequency of what is going on right here. So it can be seeing the energy field of the person, like the aura, or seeing these beings that are around them, but they are just on a frequency where they are not visible with the visible light. They are on a higher frequency.
Thank you for that clarification. And what about clairsentience?
Yeah, that can be, I mirror, that's a classical shamanic practice, to mirror the other person, to let them give an imprint of how they are feeling onto me. And that's a kind of a way of sensing that I've always been doing as a child, but I didn't know that was it. But now I do it deliberately when I sit with the client, I allow myself to feel a mirroring, an impression of how they are feeling. So that can be both the energetic state of them. How is the energy flowing? So do they have blockings somewhere in some of the chakras, or is it murky somewhere? Is there something where where the energy is tied or too weak? So that's like sensing the energy body, but I also feel physical pain if they have that. And I can also sometimes feel emotional pain, and that's usually it also located in the energetic body. So if you have emotional pain of sorrow, for instance, it's often felt at the heart chakra. And if you have emotional pain regarding some relations that are more where it's more like a power struggle, it's often felt around the solar plexus. So I navigate from what I sense, both physically and emotionally and energetically, to sense how this person that I'm sitting opposite of is feeling and what they need my help to do. And when I sense that there's a blocking, I ask their spirit guides to show me images that I understand of what is wrong and what can be done to ease their pain or help them move on or learn the issue that they need to learn something about in order to move past this problem. And
you say
then
this,
I get pictures. And
you get pictures from the spirit guide.
yes, so that they are my main companions in this work.
Okay, well, you said that kind of. Well, then I asked the spirit guides. I said, "What? Well, could you tell us?" That's like picking up the phone and say, "I wonder if you could like come in on this thing and give me some advice, or put the headphones on." Um, how does that work? I mean, I think all you do is say, "Hey, spirit guides, come in here," but I think it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah, first of all, it's a matter of being in the right state when you do it. So you expand your awareness field by being focused and grounded and raising the frequency. So it's kind of an altered state, but the more you work in that state, the more regular it feels. Like then it doesn't feel like I'm gone or something. I'm completely here. I'm just in a very certain state of being, state of mind. So from there, I always just send out the intention of connecting to what is helping me. So that's my own higher aspects, like my soul, my higher self, and my guides that are helping me, and the fields that I'm working for, a collective field that I'm working to help. I can explain more about that later, but
Yeah.
then
There's a field, and uh, there are spirit guides of yours in the field. And I'm just trying to almost draw a visual of there you are. There you are at a higher frequency, which you can get more and more easily into because you're practiced. And as you do that, that frequency allows you to communicate with the spirit guides of the person you're trying to help. But also your own spirit guides are clustering around you as well, and they're sending you images about how to proceed.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I connect to the client. Usually I do that by following their breath. So gives me a feeling of getting in tune. And then I connect up to connect with their spirit guides as well. And I normally don't really see these guides because it's not about them, it's about what they are telling me. So I don't spend a lot of time and focus on trying to find out who they are unless that's part of what the client is asking me about. But normally I'm just connecting to them, feel the sensation of the connection, and I start opening the field of healing, letting healing come to the client. And then I'm starting to mirror the client and feel how they are feeling. and I will tell them where I sense blockages, and if I get any images, and just in the beginning. And sometimes they come with a problem and they tell me that they would like us to focus on that, and then we do that, and I'll get info on that. But then if I sense something like, okay, there's a blockage in your throat, what's that about? Then I will ask up to their guides and my guides to have them inform me, what should I tell the client? What could be useful for this client to know? Can you tell me about the reason for this problem? And can you tell me about the solution? And then I will get some kinds of images and other sensations. Sometimes an image has a vibration that I need to sense to understand if there is some kind of emotional imprint that is layered in the client that I need to tell them about, that the reason you feel this way in your throat seems to be connected to this kind of sensation, this kind of emotion that was, I get it from this kind of picture, and the emotional state that I sense is this, and then they'll usually know what I'm talking about. So therefore it has to be a collaboration between me and the client, because it can be difficult for me to know if what I'm seeing is a symbolic image that they are sending me trying to explain the topic or the issue, or if it's a factual memory. Sometimes it's a memory of something that actually happened. And sometimes it's suggestions of what should be done in the future, and it can be actual images of something that would be good to do in the future, or it could be more symbolic. And that's how it works in this shamanic realm, that images can be conveyed in various kinds of ways, where something is more dream state and with power animals and layered symbolism, and sometimes it's just like, here's a picture of this next holiday that would be nice to go on. So I've learned that I shouldn't try to interpret it at first. I should just tell exactly what I'm experiencing, because then they will tell me, oh yeah, I remember that. Or they will say, I don't really understand. And then I can go on and unfold it more and more. So I try to just be directly conveying everything I sense. So that's that kind of corroboration, and the energy will work on that issue, and they will usually understand what it's about and have some kind of emotional release or some kind of understanding of what the issue is, so that they no longer attract that kind of blockage because they've learned the lesson, basically.
It's a, well, that was a nice, succinct description, Julie. And I'm just trying to hold it because I do these things visually, trying to like see how the thing operates, and I'll put it in my simpler terms, that using a variety of augmented sensations,
Augmented.
increased,
Okay,
um,
yeah.
like amplified sensations of vision and hearing and skin, which picks up a lot of stuff. The skin picks up a lot, picks up the energy field, energy off the person. And when you talk about mirroring the energy field of the other person, I've seen that happen, felt that happen on the dance floor, where I could feel somebody else's body almost imprinting on my body. It was like, and I'm glad you confirmed that that's what happens, and that's across a distance, and not touching, and that's what you can do and pick up, not just as kind of the confirmation of the body, but also blockages within the body. So your body is part of the, let me say, diagnosis of the problem. It adds information from other person's body to your assimilating, putting them together in your own thinking.
Mhm.
And then the spirit guides, both your spirit guides and the spirit guides of the other person, somehow collaborate or individually, you don't know how, probably put an image in your head. And that image could be ambiguously symbolic, or it could be like you're going to have a pizza tomorrow. It could be something more, not quite that concrete, but vacation someplace, or maybe, and even that can have some symbolic meaning. And what you don't do is try to interpret it yourself. You say, I am channeling all of this information through me, from you, from other realms, and this is what I come up with. What does it do to you?
Yes, exactly.
Well, after all this time I've known you, I get to hear how you do it. I mean, because I've been wondering for a while, and and and
Yeah,
there it is.
that's what I do when I do this kind of sessions. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to find this out for a while, so I'm I'm glad I got a mini course here, right here.
Yeah.
Well, part of what I'm intrigued with is the spirit guides and the other entities floating around, because I'm trying to map out the psychosphere where a lot of these entities seem to be floating around, and as this this father that I have uh, channeled is floating around and can move around. Um, that also up in this area, people are astral projecting, I think. They get these astral bodies floating around somewhere, and I may as well call it the psychosphere. But with all that, tell us what the populations that you know, that you can name, and that you can describe what they're doing, who are disembodied, floating around in what we might call the psychosphere.
Yeah, I think if you could see them all at once, it would be a really crowded party. Because we have so many kinds of entities on so many levels and so many sizes. So just as if you take like the devas of like the nature spirits, you can have a deva of just one flower, but you can also have a deva of the forest and of that area and of that country. So we have many nature spirits inside each other, getting bigger and bigger. So we
Hmm.
have energetic beings everywhere. But the beings that I encounter, it's of course these spirit guides. And if I should just say a little bit more about who they are, then usually it's just human souls that have come a bit further on the initiation path. So they no longer need to learn lessons here by incarnating here on Earth. So it's like older schoolmates that are just a bit further, like peers helping us, mentoring us. So usually you just have that kind of guides, and they can be a spirit guide for a whole group of soul mates or a soul group of souls at the same time. But if you work with something where you acquire special skill supervision, then you can have a special kind of spirit guides. It could be if you're a doctor, you might have a spirit guide that has experience with that and then is helping you, even though you don't know that you're communicating with anyone. They can still whisper you in the ear and give you a hunch that maybe you should check for this kind of illness because they know about this. So you can have specialized spirit guides.
Now, just for an example, I've had several physicians tell me stories in which they have a dream or a kind of in between waking and not waking vision of something about a patient they have not yet seen.
Mm.
like one of them, a surgeon of the throat, otolaryngologist, had this vision of going into the emergency room and seeing all kinds of things happening with somebody whose throat had gotten blocked again, and he needed to do the surgery. Well, the way he'd never seen this patient before, and the way it unfolded was very much like the dream or vision he had. I've had several physicians tell me stories like that. That would look like precognition to us running around down here without spirit guides, but it begins to look like this can be a spirit guide, putting that image in the physician's mind, and preparing that physician for what's going to happen.
Yes, it could be that. And it's hard to tell generally, because I guess it can be a variety of ways. It could be you as a doctor already connecting to the patient, because the patient is tuning into who's going to help me, and you're tuning into who am I going to help. So you could connect with each other, but it could also be the guides preparing you. And I get that all the time when I go to my clinic to see clients. I always have some kind of sensation about how they are feeling before I see them. Especially if they are really nervous about it, then I feel nervous, and I have to remind myself that it's not because I'm nervous about it, it's because I'm feeling them. That's how it was before I learned about this idea of clairsentience. I just thought I was nervous and I was insecure and I was all these emotions and states that I realized wasn't even me. But it can feel so clear that you think it's your own feelings. And on a higher plane, we are all connected. So maybe it's just our human feelings that we share.
Emphasize what you're saying, because so many people are saying we're all one and we're all part of the same thing, and that it's all a kind of like a honey mixture of we're all in it. We are all in it, but we're also separate. And to be able to be separate and together is a difficult thing for a lot of human beings to accept. And that's what you just clearly said as a healer, as a psychotherapist. I think you were just talking about, you have to like separate out you from them in order to be able to help them. And there's no better example for me of like, we're connected, but we gotta recognize our separateness.
Yeah, it's much easier to help if you don't think it's your own nervousness about the session,
You
because
can
that
just,
makes it harder to tune in and to trust what you're seeing. So
yep.
it's helpful to remember I'm not nervous.
Yeah, I'm not nervous. It's the other person. So you mentioned that you can just pick it up, clairsentience, pick it up even before the person comes in.
Mm.
The physician and the patient, and in these two cases I'm talking about, they hadn't met yet. Um, but it still doesn't mean they couldn't know that they might have known they were going to meet. And so that connection could have still been there because of the anticipation on each side. And then there's the spirit guide that sometimes can come in and maybe add. It's not all one or the other. The spirit guide may offer a more concrete vision of what the surgeon is going to run into in the surgeon's mind. So this could be an example of the specialized consultant that you're referring that some of the spirit guides become.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and this actually reminds me of something special I experienced recently. If I may put this story in, and then we can continue on the list of
Oh no, I
things.
want to hear your stories, Julie. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Um, because that was kind of a patient reaching out to the healer situation. I was sleeping, and then when it was getting into the morning, I was dreaming that I was with some women in a room, and then some drunk young men came bursting into that room, uh, being really wild and making a chaos. And there were some bouncers trying to get them out, but then one of these guys came over to me and was really in my face. But then suddenly I got eye contact with him, and I was highly surprised to see that it was someone I knew who was, but I've only met him once a few years ago. He's the son of one of my friends. So I've heard about him from his mother, but I've only met him once and we didn't really speak directly to each other. So I was really surprised that I even recognized his face. But in this dream, he was looking me very intensely in the eyes with tears in his eyes. And he didn't say any words, but I understood from the telepathic connection that he was telling me, I'm sad and scared of being in this situation with these people getting too drunk, too intoxicated, not being aligned with myself. Things are happening that are out of balance, out of control. It's boundary crossing both ways, for me to others and others to me. So I need help with this. And I was asking a few questions about if he was physically okay. And then I felt like the moment I saw him in the eyes and realized it was him, it made me lose it in the dream. So I was aware that, okay, now I need to step into being a healer here. And it awoke that kind of motherly concern for him, because he's a teenage guy, and I then just could take him to lie down as if he was a child, and I felt the energy was starting to go to him, that I was healing him somehow in a way where it was awakening his inner state of innocence, and he was receiving it like a child. So that healing was going on, and then my alarm was ringing. So I woke up, but I could feel that the energy of the healing was still going on. So I kept holding the energy, as I would do if I was doing a distance healing, for some hours. And then I wrote to his mom and saying, like, is he all right? And she was saying, yes, I saw him yesterday. He's fine. But why are you asking? And then I told her about my dream. And she said, wow. And she was so emotional, because 2 weeks earlier, she had been talking with him, and he had revealed to her what she didn't know beforehand, that he had some traumas with parties that had gotten out of hand. And he was struggling to find a way out of that, not repeating that kind of pattern, and to find a way to heal these traumas. But he's not open to therapy and all these spiritual stuff, so it was hard for her to be able to help him. So she just prayed that he would somehow find the help, or the help would find him. So that's just, to me, it was so magical that she asked up there for help, and then his soul reaches out to me when I'm dreaming and asks me for help with that exact issue. And then I can give him that healing and ask his mother, and she can confirm that he was actually dealing with that topic. I didn't know that it was an issue, but she could confirm, yes, he actually needed help with that. And I asked for that help. And to me, it was also a confirmation that it can work that way, because I had been listening to the telepathy tapes, this podcast that's really popular at the moment, and I was intrigued by a guy who was making his mother lucid in her dreams so that he could send her music that he wanted to record. So I was intrigued by, wow, it's possible for someone to enter the other one's dream and create something. And then it happened just a few days after I had learned about this. So yeah, it was eye-opening to me, even though I'm used to these kinds of experiences, but it's rare that you can have that kind of confirmation of it. So in that state, it was his soul reaching out to me in a different layer. because I was asleep. So in that way, if we should compare that to the patient and the doctor, you could say possibly the patient's soul could also somehow know that they should reach out to that doctor, even though we don't know it in person, because this guy, I don't think he remembers exactly who I am. You know, he knows that I'm a friend of his mother, but he wouldn't think about the idea that he should reach out to me for a healing. So you know stuff on that level that you don't know as a person.
That is a super good story, Julie. And it's pretty recent and pretty alive in you. And my clairsentience over the Zoom had that imprinted on me from here to here, where I'm picking it up. So uh, I I was with you in the movie that you were running in your mind and describing it. And there are different layers, as you're talking about, different parts of this that certainly involve the mother reaching out, and that's an important wanting some help. The son knowing he needs some help, but not wanting to get any from anybody, and somehow spirit guides connecting your dream with them, and we don't know how, but it's the interconnectedness and the facilitating that the spirit guides can do that help make it happen. And that's an important part of this, is that you are pretty convinced that spirit guides can, you don't know if they did it this time, but probably facilitate connections like mother son problem, Julie dream, Julie recognizes, Julie heals, and then things are better. Uh, and I like that story for the same reason you do. It's confirmation, just like I could tell you I saw the spiral going up in the room and you knew it, but that helped confirm it for you. And so we need each other too to help confirm these things that are not necessarily accepted by ordinary reality thinkers, but they're just as real. And so more people have to say just what you did, and as we did, to confirm the spiral going up, so that we both become yet more confident that we can see things that other people can't see. Or at least maybe they don't acknowledge seeing them, so that they don't recognize it. They may actually experience it somehow. But putting the words, the label on it, I became convinced about how important it is to label things, because you ground it. Sometimes you ground it into the ground too. You can overname things. So there's an in between where you can name the process, which you just did. So thank you very much for that story, Julie. It's a good one.
Thanks, you're welcome. And I also just came to think of that. I wanted to add that I asked her now that if it had helped, and she said she had felt that it helped both him in his issue, but also in his relation to her, allowing her to help him more with it, letting her more in. So it's, you never know how healings will work. I've also done a healing at some point where I was actually helping a friend of mine with her that kid, no, a gallbladder. She had stones in her gallbladder.
Oh, gallbladder, yeah, gallbladder, yeah,
Gallbladder.
yeah,
A very painful situation.
yeah, yeah.
So we were three healers trying to help her with that. And when she was there on the healing table, she came to think of her father and realized that she needed to contact him and tell him all the issues that she had towards him about what a poor dad he had been to her. Because he had been favoring the guys and not her brothers. So after that healing, she reached out to him. They were not in contact at that time because she was so disappointed and angry with him. And they hadn't been for years. But then she reached out and told him and he listened and he apologized, and re uh, they could take up the relationship again, start to see each other on a friendly basis, and that made her migraine disappear. So so you never know how these things work. We couldn't have figured that out, but it just came to her when she was there in that heightened state, because she had three healers helping her. She was elevated enough to be able to receive that message, that the issues that she had, not only with the gallbladder, but also with her migraines, was related to her father issues. And then she could do something about it, and the body would stop shouting to get her attention.
The body would stop shouting. And it's so important to recognize that the body is nonverbal,
Yeah.
but it can be pretty loud.
Yes.
And it's making statements. If you listen, pain is something to be welcomed up until a point where it's too much, but it's also a message. A migraine and the gallbladder. What happened with their gallbladders?
Um, there was one stone that was about to pass, and it gets extra painful when these stones pass, but it seemed like we managed to dissolve that stone so that the passing that was coming up just happened much more smoothly than usually. But she still had to get an operation that was already scheduled. She still took that operation later on, I think, if I remember correct. Yeah, she did have an operation, but I don't know if she had given it more time and
It would
worked
have this.
more on the issue. Maybe she wouldn't have had to take that surgery. I don't know, but it was already she was already waiting for that surgery. But
Mhm.
but the immediate passing of that stone, I don't know if you call it that, that
Yeah,
that
you
was
do. Yeah,
alleviated.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So sometimes you get a partial and you don't know, and that's the way baseball. That's the way it goes here. You never know.
Mm.
Now, we have about maybe 15 minutes left, Julie, and I
And
still,
so many beings to
and there are a
cover.
lot of beings out there. We've been staying right here with people and gallbladders and drunk teenagers. So we got to let's see if we can get out in the psychosphere and get into the party that you started
Yes.
telling us about with all those entities. And I imagine in the party, because they don't have bodies, they can just go through each other. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, you're there, I'm there, but you can just go through each. So please. Let's have a party, Julie. What's going on in that
Yeah.
out there?
So I was saying we have our regular guides, and then we have the specialized guides,
Yep.
and that could be a surgeon. But for me, because I'm working in modern shamanism, this is one of my guides. He's specialized in that. He's called White Eagle. He helps many shamans of the new era. It teaches us from the inside of how to work. And then you can also have ascended masters helping you. They don't stick around you as your personal guide all the time, but they can help you if you work with some greater topics. And that could be someone like this guy's the Count of Saint Germain. He's one of the ascended masters that I feel more connected to. Um, they can come in if you're working on some things for the benefit of humanity. You kind of have to go to that kind of level usually in order to have that kind of helpers to work on that scale, is what I
Ah,
seem to notice.
that's
Because if you're just working on one person with a healing of the blocked throat chakra, it's not necessary to have an ascended master to. It's sometimes they can show up, but usually it's not necessary.
so I mean, I'm doing this psychotherapy for the collective human organism. That sounds like trying to do something for humanity. So, from what you're telling me, some of these ascended masters might be hanging around me sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And when you say that, I just have a sensation of some of the some of the Eastern masters, some of the ones that have an understanding somehow of the of how consciousness works. I get a sense of China, Japan over there. That there are someone around you. I didn't notice before, but it's just now when you point at it, then it opens the channel to get a glimpse. So it could be some of the famous ones from over there, like in Taoism or Confucianism or something. Some of the ones that have been starting these old traditions of understanding how the mind works.
Lao Tse, for example.
Yeah, someone like him. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
just a very short glimpse, a sensation. I didn't see it clearly, but I just had a sensation that, and then I was pointed to over there
by over there, where were we pointed to
by
over?
China, Japan,
Yeah,
that
China,
area.
Japan. Um, Leslie's in China and having a good time finally after all this time. So it's when you say that, it's kind of like I'm already in China in a way.
Mm.
Um, a modern China. It's just, and I want to be able to not just be having an ascended master named Carl Jung being the one that is influencing me. I'm pretty sure I'm friendly with Jung more than I had, and I talked about him when we were doing the cacao ceremony, being around and being of some help because I'm furthering what he was doing, synchronicity as a potential for healing the world, part of it anyway. So so from what you're saying, given what I'm doing, and all I'm doing is doing it. I sit here and I think about it, and is like imagining the collective human organism and imagining the mind of this organism and imagining the self-observer of this organism. And I'm kind of up in the self-observer looking at the mind and the whole body. That's what you just are describing, trying to help humanity. And so, how do I become more tuned in to the likelihood that there are some ascended masters hanging around me?
Well, to have the intention of receiving that kind of help is the first and very important step, that you ask for that help, that you declare your intention that, hey guys, up there, I'm doing this project in order to help us understand better how consciousness works, how our collective humanity works, in order to help us grow and evolve and become more wise and peaceful, or whatever you want to call this project's aim. So I would really love to have you help me all you can, sending me the information and pointing me in the right directions of who I should talk to and where I should read and listen, so that you can help me do this to the best of my ability to the highest, greatest good. So to declare your attention like that, intention, and ask for that help. And then just like you would cultivate your um, ability to receive synchronicities, right now I don't remember your concept for that, but you cultivate your awareness in order to be able to act on it when you get hints to reach for your synchronicities. It's kind of the same thing, that you cultivate your ability to listen to the guidance that's coming to you. So you pay attention if you have a problem that you're trying to solve, and you're standing and just spacing out a little bit, relaxing in front of your bookshelf, and then suddenly your attention is drawn to one of these books. Then instead of just thinking, now that's nothing, you go and take that book out and open it on a random page. And I guess it would be the information you would need. So in that way, allowing yourself to be guided and to listen to what is coming through. And that thing about listen, that takes the effort from you of actually leaving some silent moments in your day. where you are able to listen and you're not just completely occupied with your own thoughts or questions, but you take the time to have some quiet time where they can actually come in and give you some thoughts or ideas or say some words, depending on how you are able to receive it. And so it could also be through meditation, it could be through your dream state, if and to be better at receiving guidance when you sleep, it's a good practice to practice remembering your dreams. So that's a good, like, learning to be meditative and quiet for extended moments, and learning to remember your dreams, and to catching when you feel you have an intuition of, now I need to look at that book, now I need to call that person, that you actually act on that, so that you can get the help through physical means also, by following that guidance.
Yeah.
So that would be some of the ways.
Okay.
Asking and listening.
Yeah, the asking, I'm going to be more direct about. Dream remembering, I just haven't done it because to me, life is a dream anyway. It's stuff's happening all around us. And so stuff comes to me, like this guy in Bulgaria, it's studying self-awareness. Stuff, people come to me, and now I need money to come to me. And it's kind of like just being open to, like, this is what I need right now, but I can put words on it. And that's what you're just helping me do, is so words are so important to be able to say, as in prompts for AI. Now, so that's what I'm learning, and the place that I go for space is in the forest by myself. That's a place where a lot of stuff comes. Dr. Coincidence gets liberated out in the forest, and he's a little crazy, but stuff happens like that. But asking directly, I like that, and that's what I take away as a primary for me right now. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and taking nature walks is a very good way of getting quiet and elevated. It can be difficult to sit down and meditate in your daily life if you're normally really busy and have a lot going on in your mind. So then it can be easier to be quiet if you go into the nature and allow nature to help you find a good state of being.
Oh, and it does. It does,
Mm.
especially gray, rainy days where nobody's around.
Mm.
Just me and the trees and the water really, really helps. Okay, so who else is up there? We just did some ascended masters. Who else is around?
Then we have the angels. Um, we have our personal guardian angel, which is with us all our life from birth to death. So they always take care that we don't leave this life before scheduled. So if we do something stupid, then they will try to save our lives so that we will stick around for as long as we need to. And they can also help comfort us and give us some nudges in a good direction, but they are not guides with the experience of living the life. They are more like kindergarten nurses, or like they have this caring energy, protecting us and comforting us. And then we have other kinds of angels, um, angels that work also with collective things, like angels that help keeping up the frequency of peace as a collective group project for this whole planet. And we have archangels. They are bigger, like leading angels, but they become big because they've grown through an a process of, like we also grow and go through initiations. They, as far as I understand, they have come to these places, these states where they become bigger and bigger, and they also have special areas of function. So like Archangel Raphael, he's the healing archangel, so I often call upon him. and Archangel Michael, who is doing clearings and protection, and Archangel Metatron, who is helping with time and space and other kinds of things. So we have many different ones that are there so big that they can be helping many people at the same time, and helping with various collective and personal issues if they're called upon. So we can always call upon these angels of light and have them help us, and they are super happy to help because that's what they're here for. They just need permission to interfere. So the more we ask, the more they are allowed to help us, because we have this free will here on Earth. So if we never ask for help, then it's limited how much they are allowed to help us. And then we have the discarnated people. So that can be if you have a loved one that passes over. In the beginning, they might not understand that they have died, and so they can hang around in a confused state, or they can be scared if they have some religious ideas that they are afraid of judgment. Then they can be reluctant to move on, or they can feel that like they didn't finish all they were here to do, or they can't let go of some material possessions like a house, or they feel like there's something they didn't get to tell somebody and they are still waiting for the opportunity to tell that message to someone. So there can be various reasons that they are still hanging around and not being willing to cross into the light. But usually they get help and they don't stick around for long. But that's just like in the beginning, that state of confusion. Some people do want to like escape moving on to the light and want to hang around if they have some kind of problem, and then they would become what we refer to usually as ghosts. There's always a lot of help for them, but they need to be willing to receive that help and move on. If they have addictions, that can be a reason that they stick around, that they can't let go of that, and then they can become a spirit that you get attached on you if you are in a bar and suddenly you feel different and you come home and you have a much bigger urge to drink alcohol than you usually have. That could be a sign that a discarnate person has latched onto you in order to make you do that kind of addictive behavior, trying to satisfy their need. So sometimes I see clients with discarnate spirits attached, that I'll then have to help pass over to the other side. But it's really not something you should be afraid of. It's just something that can happen because of human issues. So it's just a matter of finding out what's going on, and then you can send them on. I had a really interesting experience from a friend of mine. She had what is that? It's a psychiatric illness. It's where you have tics. You say things that are rude involuntarily.
Yeah, and they have ticks too. Because it's yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah, I'll get it for a minute. Okay.
Yeah, she had this diagnosis where she had various personalities suddenly bursting through her, making her say certain sentences as tics that were like weird or rude, and she couldn't help, like she couldn't stop herself from saying these things. I almost had it. No, no. Well, but she was diagnosed with that and lived with that for some years, until she met a clairvoyant who noticed that she had these glue-on spirits these discarnated beings, and removed them from her. Tourette, that's it. Tourette in Danish?
Tourette syndrome.
Tourette syndrome, that's it.
Yes.
So this clairvoyant saw that it was these discarnate humans and sent them on, and then her tics stopped. So she still had her other issues like anxiety, but she didn't have any of these personalities anymore that were giving her these tics. So she doesn't have to add any longer. So that was really interesting. So I would love more psychiatrists to look into that and see, like, generally, if psychiatrists and shamans could work hand in hand, we could find out so many interesting things and help so many people. But I would love if they could research more if it's possible to help people with Tourette by removing entities.
Oh, that's such a good idea, Julie. And there's so many other good ideas we can talk about, but I've got to be able to say goodbye to you, at least for our show, because we've gone long enough for now. So thank you, and there's more to be learned from you, and it's so much fun talking with you. So I'm really glad that we have gotten together again, and I hope maybe you drop into Charlottesville, Virginia one of these days.
I hope so too. And yes, I have so many more kinds of beings on my list, so I guess we'll just have to continue another day.
Well, just send me whatever you can. Just send me whatever you can, because I'm not intending to have a whole list in what I'm writing. And you've given me some primary ones here too, but we can just say there's more. But I like that there's a big party going on up there, and that's what we got. So thanks, Julie, for a lot of fun and very informative. So what I call play is having fun and learning stuff, and this was very much play with you. So thank you.
Thank you too, and have a happy birthday for the rest of the day.
Thank you.